Hi everyone, my name is Ozan Elmaz and I'm making this video tutorial for you guys to understand a little bit more about statements. So first of all, I want to say that this is a one of two videos that I've created. So I've created one video and regarding errors, how to make your errors and do your corrections in the statements, and a little bit more about the closure. And this one's going to be more about the rest of the statement, more about the introduction, the main characters, setting the scene, the chronological account, and a little bit about the closure. So it's kind of just making it, clarifying it to you guys how we want the statement written. So first of all, a couple of things. Remember to write. You're going to write it in black ink. It's got to be in block capitals because it makes it easy for us to read. If it's not, if it's unreadable, guys, then if we can't read it, we can't assess it. Okay. We need to have good grammar, good use of English as well. We can't use slang words. Remember, these are a statement is something that is evidence, and it needs to be admissible in court. If it isn't written in the correct way, it can be inadmissible, and that would be a shame because it could possibly mean that a suspect, a criminal, will get let off purely because you didn't write the statement correctly. So let's get started. So first of all, you start off with your introduction in your statement. So in the introduction, I put here, so in this section, we're letting whoever needs to know who we are. So we mentioned who we are, our job role, maybe a little history. Let's say, for example, our experience. It could be that we were ex-policeman, ex-army, or we did other security roles as well. Just a little bit about ourselves. We also mention while we're doing a statement, and it could be anything like, I'm doing a statement as a request by the Metropolitan Police due to an incident that I witnessed on, I don't know, Tuesday the 20th of April 2023. So you're basically saying a little bit about yourself, who you are, and why you're doing the statement. So then we move on to the main characters, and what you're doing is in this section, you're introducing your characters in the statement. So you're introducing the characters that you'll be mentioning in the statement, mainly who you'll be mentioning in the chronological account, because it's the chronological account which gives you the full breakdown of what actually happened. The reason why we introduce the characters beforehand is because it saves us from describing them in the chronological account. Now, being an ex-Metropolitan Police Constable myself, I remember when we used to write statements, sometimes we used to do the descriptions all part of the same sort of chronological account, which isn't really the best way to do it. And I know some people, from experience from teaching, you've got sort of people that already write statements, and I know you guys might be used to writing it in that way, but for the purposes of the course, we want to stick to this structure. It is a better way of doing, guys, and it is a lot easier for us to sort of see that you've added in the points that you need to add in. So yeah, just try and stick to this. And I know you may have another way of doing it, but me personally, I think this is a better way. Again, like I said, I used to do it the other way as well, the old way, but this is a slightly better way of doing it. So, one, we've got the introduction. Two, we introduce the characters. So, basically, we let in this section, we're letting people know who's involved. Yeah, so it could be suspect one, suspect two, victim one, victim two, or witness one, witness two. We would also introduce our colleagues or anyone else who was involved. It might be someone who was with us helping us stop the incident, or who was another witness as well. We can also refer to them as male one and male two, or female one or female two. That's if it's not really clear who was the suspect and who was the victim. So yeah. So the reason again why we do this, guys, it saves us from having to describe during the chronological account who these people are. So now, once we've done this, once we name them, so we say suspect one, who I now, you could write something along the lines of suspect one, who at the time of the incident was a 5'8" white male, stocky build, bald beard, wearing glasses with a grey hoodie, grey tracksuit bottoms, and white trainers. So you'd say suspect one, and then you describe them. Also here, what you've got to do is, obviously, if you know the person, yeah, you must state how you knew them. So if you know the person, you've got to state how you knew them. For example, you'd say something along, you start this section something along the lines of, in my statement, I will be mentioning, I don't know, Michael Bard. I know Michael Bard because I dealt with him before on other incidents during my job role. At the time of the incident, Michael Bard. Sorry, at the time of the incident, I would describe Michael Bard as, and then you describe him. So if you know the name of the person, you'd mention the name, okay? Then you'd say how you know them, and then you'd describe them. If you didn't know the person, you'd say suspect one or victim one, and you'd say, I would describe suspect one, or I would describe victim one at the time of the incident as being blah, 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 blah. And you describe them. So remember, if you know them, again, I've written here, remember, if you know the name of the person, as well as a description, you have to mention how you know them. For example, someone you dealt with before, or it may be that the police told you their name. So it could be that after the incident, the police actually told you who they were, but you've got to say how you know them. Whatever it is, you have to mention how. Cool. So now let's move on to section 3. So setting the scene. This is where you talk about the locations, which is very similar to introducing the characters. What you're basically doing is you're introducing the scenes. So I've written here, here is where you introduce the places. You talk about the names of the streets, the type of locations, atmosphere, and anyone else around who could have been affected by the incident, such as families with young children. You also mention lighting, and if you had a clear, unobstructed view of the incident. Again, this is so that when you get to the chronological account, you don't have to do it there, and it just basically means, guys, that the account will flow a lot better when they're reading it out. So that there won't be a lot of this stop-start. And again, you've got to mention sort of families and children because you want to highlight the effect the incident has had on the people around, because that's going to be very important. So then we go into the chronological account. So this is where you put exactly what you saw, heard, physically felt, smelled, and what your emotions. So i.e. fear, especially if it involves the use of force. Mentioning that you were fearing for your safety, or you were in fear for someone else's safety is important. So yeah, and also it's a full. So the chronological account is a full account of what actually happened. Okay. In this section, by the way, you always have to start here. So I've got down here, I've got an example. So in the section, you always start the section with day, date, time, and place. Now I know sometimes some people might say, no, you just have to put a time because the statement has a date. Well, no, that's not exactly true, because what if you've done the statement for some reason, something happened, and the incident went on for a long time before you actually got a chance to actually write the statement, and it might be that you wrote the statement the day after. So you don't rely on that. You always got to start with day, date, time, and place. So here again, I've put an example down. Let's say you were a CCTV operator. You'd put, on Tuesday, the 7th of May, 2023, I was on duty in the control room at Wood Green Shopping Centre when I noticed on camera 1, bang, there you go. So you've done your day, your date. Sorry, actually, I've missed something out there. Let's add a time in there as well. So on Tuesday, 7th of May, 2023, there we go, at 2200 hours, there we go, I've added that in. I was on duty in the control room at Wood Green Shopping Centre when I noticed on camera 1. So there you go, you've covered your day, your date, your time, your place where you were, and bang, you go on from there what you saw. And again here, so we could let's add that in here as well. 100 hours, there we go. So, and the example 2 is, let's say if you're a door supervisor or a security guard in a shopping centre. So on Tuesday the 7th of May, 2023 at 2200 hours, I was on duty doing foot patrol along Wood Green High Street. When I got to Boots Pharmacy, I looked across the road and I saw, there you go, voila. So you're basically saying you were on foot patrol. You're basically saying on the date, day, time and place, where you were, you looked across the road and you saw, or it could be that someone approached you. Also, we need to make sure, let me just put this in red so we're clear. Yeah. Right, there we go. So also there needs to be a time stamp at the end. For example, at 2200 hours, suspect 1 was arrested and placed in a marked police vehicle. Bang, and that's your, at the end of your chronological account. You need to have a timestamp. A good statement, especially if it goes on for longer, it will have timestamps in between as well. So at this time this happened, and then at this time, we'll have at least 2 or 3 or 4 timestamps just to kind of give people an idea of how long this incident happened, and especially main events of the incident. So main things that happen in the incidents, I would always add an extra timestamp. Obviously, you don't have to put the date again. So the date would only be at the beginning, and then the rest would just be times. Yeah. Obviously, let's say if an incident started at I don't know, so Tuesday the 7th of May at 2300 hours, 23:30 hours, and the incident went on for more than half an hour and it was into the next day, then yes, the first time you mentioned the time of the next day, you would mention the date again just to clarify that, yeah, this was the next day and this was the time. And again, it just makes things a lot clearer to whoever's reading it and who needs to understand it. Then you've got your closure. So yeah, in your closure, you must include the following. And these are actually, guys, these are absolute must. So I am willing to attend court on this matter if needed. You have to add that you are willing to actually attend court. You've got to put in where you've done your statement, the time you've done your statement, and where you've done the time you've done the statement, and if there was any witnesses of you, or sorry, if there was anyone with you when you've done a statement. So it could be this is my original statement made in the control room between 2200 hours and 2300 hours, and you could put it in the presence of let's say Luke I don't know, Luke Smith. Okay, so Luke Smith. Then obviously what I'm doing here, guys, is I'm lining it off, and that was just to kind of demonstrate to you guys that if whenever you do a statement, especially a written one, because with written ones people can pick it up and they can add stuff in, can't they? So you always line off if there's gaps to the end. You always line it off, and as you can see here, what I've done is I put my just finish that part off. There you go. I'll just move these all along just to show you guys. There you go. So what I'm doing is when we go right to the end, and I initial it as well just to show, say, yeah, this was me, and I lined it off. So we do our initials, and again, guys, I'm going to talk about initials when in my other video, because we use them a lot more when we're doing errors and doing corrections. So just to recap again, so you've got to put in at the end of the statement in the closure in this section, and remember, guys, please write the statement out in the way that we're asking you, in the format that we're asking you, not the way you're used to doing it. This is the format that we want. So first of all, you are, I'm willing to attend court on this matter if needed. This is my original statement made, and you say where, the time, if it was in the presence of anyone. If it wasn't in the presence of anyone, then you don't have to mention it. Just leave that out. So now this part here, errors. Now errors, again, I'm going to explain to you in the error section. So only, again, I've written here errors, and only if there are any errors that need to be indexed, and that'll make more sense when you watch the next video. Because what happens is there's a type of error where, let's say you've written it, but then you've carried on writing, so there's no way, you can't just put a line through it initially and put the right text, because there's no space. So what would happen is you get to this point, and within your closure, you create like an index, and you have an index of the errors that are in the statement. Okay. And then, so yeah, so the very last thing you do is your declaration. And this is very important, guys. You cannot miss your declaration. If you miss your declaration, this is the wording. This statement consists of 1 pages, each signed by me. Obviously, if it was 2, you'd put 2. If it was 3, you'd put 3. Each signed by me. It is true to the best of my knowledge and belief, and I make it knowing that if it is tendered in evidence, I shall be liable to prosecution if I have willfully stated in it anything which I know to be false or do not believe to be true. You're basically, it's a declaration saying that if I knowingly put anything in it that I know is not true, then I am liable to prosecution. So yeah, I believe that's it, guys. I'm going to leave the closure there, because again, I do go through this again in my next video. And again, I've just got a few recaps here. Remember, if there are any gaps in any of the sections, it must be lined off to the end of the line and initials placed. This is to stop anyone from tampering with a statement. Each page must be signed. So although we only do a declaration when it's written, we do a declaration at the end of the whole statement. Obviously, when it's templates like the one you see here, you've got a declaration at the top in the heading of each sheet. Obviously, when it's digital, it's easier to do, guys. That's the only reason for it. So, but when it's handwritten, you would have to do one declaration at the end and sign it. But each page still does have to have a signature and a date on it. And also, what the pages do have to have is each page needs to have a page number. So page 1 of 3, page 2 of 3, etc. And again, this is to reinforce how many sheets there should be. And guys, again, I've just written here, don't assume, stick to the facts of what you saw. If you do not, the defense will destroy your credibility as a witness. So don't get yourself stuck in that situation. So thank you very much, guys, and good luck.